In the previous part, we saw that Arrakis, a planet known as Dune, was under the control of House Harkonnen, led by a villainous leader. By mining the valuable spice found in the sands of Arrakis, they had become wealthier than the Emperor himself. The spice, a substance found only on Arrakis, possessed advanced life-enhancing properties, increasing people's mental abilities and energy, allowing for travel between planets. The Emperor then issued orders for Duke Leto of Caladan to take charge of the business on Arrakis. While the planet had abundant greenery and water, Arrakis itself was mostly sand. Upon reaching Arrakis, the locals referred to Duke's son Paul as the Messiah. Like his mother Lady Jessica, he could manipulate anyone with his voice, and the visions he received were also a part of his mother's power. After the house is attacked, Duke is killed, and Jessica and Paul are taken as captives to their home planet. Using their voices, they manipulate the soldiers into killing each other and manage to escape captivity. They encounter the Freeman tribe on Arrakis, led by Stilgar. Due to the spice mining on the planet, everyone's eyes had turned blue, and Paul meets Chani, the girl he had always seen in his visions. Moving forward, House Harkonnen attacks Arrakis, destroying the entire Atreides household overnight, burning their bodies without any witnesses or evidence. Upon regaining control of Arrakis, Baron designates his nephew Rabban as its ruler. This event leaves Emperor Shaddam IV silent and his daughter Princess Irulan speechless. Meanwhile, north of Arrakis, Paul has a vision of his sister's unborn fetus in his mother Jessica's womb. Paul confides his fears about not being able to set everything right before his father's death and his own birth. On the remaining planets, Rabban's soldiers search the deep deserts to conquer the Freeman people, but the Freemen cleverly evade them with Paul and Lady Jessica's help. Witnessing his army disappearing in the deserts, the military advisor to House Harkonnen advises Rabban to take a break, but Rabban, in a fit of anger, orders his army to quickly exterminate them all. Here, Stilgar arrives at the cave with Paul and Jessica, where the Siege Tab was created to hold gatherings during times of danger. Upon their arrival, Paul and Jessica realize that the people there have two sentiments about them. Some believe in the future prophecy that a mother and her son will bring happiness and prosperity to Arrakis, hence they consider Paul their Messiah. However, most of the young people believe they are spies. Now, the core community of the Freemen asks Paul to relinquish his fate to the desert, hoping the desert will determine his fate. However, Paul refuses to make any decision about Jessica. Instead, Paul wants to reach the Emperor with the help of the Freemen to avenge his father. At that moment, Stilgar, alone with Jessica, shows her a pool filled with water in the cave and assures her that they have no shortage of water. He explains that they have water in abundance at thousands of places and their Messiah will bring back the lush greenery. He also reveals that their revered mother is dying, and suggests Jessica take her place because she is a Bene Gesserit, possessing hidden mental powers and can easily understand the future prophecy. Accepting the proposal, Jessica informs Paul that participating in this ritual will inflict all the sorrow and pain of the previous revered mothers upon her, which she must endure. The ritual to become a revered mother begins, where she is presented before their revered mother and forcefully given a liquid referred to as the water of life, which the people call the water of life. In reality, it is a poisonous substance that, if ingested by anyone other than the Messiah, will result in immediate death. Meanwhile, outside the cave, Paul learns that Chani and her companions believe that Paul being the Messiah is merely a belief of the Southern people, and beyond the beliefs of the Southern people, it means nothing. So, Paul asks Chani the reason for Stilgar's trust in him. Chani explains that it's because she herself is from the South. Inside the cave, Jessica starts to suffer from the pain after drinking the water of life. However, at that moment, their revered mother realizes that Jessica is pregnant, and the water of life has awakened the mind of the unborn girl in her womb prematurely, and only Paul knew that his mother was pregnant. Even after Jessica survives drinking the poison, Stilgar and his companions become fully convinced that it is a miracle and the prophecy was absolutely correct. However, Chani and her companions were still not ready to believe in the prophecy, so they began to argue amongst themselves. At this point, Paul interrupts them, explaining that it wasn't a miracle but rather his mother was trained from the beginning to endure the poison, and he is not a Messiah. He clarifies that he is not here to lead them but to learn from their ways. He urges them to let him fight alongside them. Hearing this, Chani calms down, but Stilgar and his people still have no doubts about him being the Messiah. Then Paul's mother informs him that his sister has started communicating with her already, and she has full faith in him, believing that he is just one step away from his destination, and after drinking the water of life, he will see everything clearly. Afterward, Stilgar brings Paul to the desert to teach him the ways of their combat and to inform him about the dangers there. After a few days of surviving, Chani teaches him how to walk on the sand and how to live in the desert. Paul starts to care about their way of life. One day, Harkonnen arrives in their area for mining, which leads to a battle between the freemen and them. Paul saves Chani from an attack, and with the help of the freemen, he annihilates the enemy's entire machinery and army. Impressed by Paul's bravery, Stilgar nicknames him Usul and Muad'Dib. Usul means the base of a pillar, and Muad'Dib refers to a kangaroo mouse, known for surviving in the desert. Paul starts to be considered a part of their community by the people, and Chani also expresses her respect for him and explains the meaning of his freeman names. Usul signifies the base of the spring in the desert, while Muad'Dib is the spring itself. They both feel drawn to each other. Paul, along with the freeman, repeatedly disrupts the mining of the spice by the Harkonnens, causing frustration to Baron as his nephew Rabban's incompetence starts affecting their work. Meanwhile, Paul receives a vision and tells Chani that if he goes south, he will follow a certain path, leading to a devastating war that will result in millions dying of hunger. Afterward, Paul summons the sandworm, the largest one seen yet, and rides it. Witnessing this event, another aspect of the prophecy is proven true. It is suggested to spread this news everywhere so that every freeman becomes connected with Paul and can head south, where many already believe in the prophecy. Then, the freemen start preparing to take Jessica south, but Paul refuses to accompany them, fearing that war will break out as soon as they arrive. Before leaving, Paul's sister advises him not to fall in love but to save himself for political alliances. When Paul sees the face of the woman who was following him during the battle in the south, he realizes it was his mother, Jessica. Meanwhile, continuing his fight against every Harkonnen spice storehouse, Paul faces an attack at their base by Rabban. In the battle, he narrowly escapes with his life. On the other side, Emperor and his daughter believe that Paul has been killed, but the Mother Superior tells the princess that if Paul is alive, he knows the truth about the Emperor's scheme to destroy his family, and if he brings this to the attention of the other houses, the Emperor will face a challenge that could cost him his power. However, to stop this, we need to ensure that Rabban's second nephew, Rautha, who will become the next ruler of Arrakis, can be controlled. Rautha proves his worthiness in front of Baron by fighting in the bloody gladiator games. When Rabban fails, Rautha is declared the ruler of the planet Arrakis. Afterward, Margaret, a sister of the Mother Mahim campaign, sends Gurney to implant Rautha's weakness and secrets into his embryo. Margaret succeeds in her task, informing Mother Mahim that Rautha can be sexually controlled. On the other hand, Paul's father's friend, Cale, conspires with the smugglers to steal spice. During the battle with the freemen, Paul identifies him and brings him along. Paul informs him about the shortage of weapons, prompting Cale to take him and the freemen to a place where Paul's father had hidden nuclear weapons, which were enough to destroy the entire planet. Meanwhile, Jessica was spreading the message of the Messiah's arrival in the south, and Paul had almost halted the mining of spice in the north. The princess was aware of both these events and was indicating towards the war. Here, in front of Jessica, a small sandworm, a symbol of life, is drowned in water and killed. After extracting it from its insides, it is given to her. Jessica says that a man will come here very soon, and it should be given to him. Rautha attacks Sietch, destroying it, then the Southern War Council summons all the leaders for a meeting. Still injured, Paul is told to go to the south in his place. However, Paul refuses to go because he fears the destruction he saw in the vision of the war. He also knew Chani's death was certain. Then, the spirits of the desert urge Paul to drink the water of life because only with its power will he see the future clearly. So, leaving one of Chani's friends behind, they head towards the south. Rautha kills Chani's friend, while Paul drinks the water of life upon reaching the south and falls into a coma. In a coma, his sister appears to him on the shore of the ocean on the same planet, revealing some deep family secrets to him. At that moment, Chani also arrives at the Sietch and sees that Paul has died from drinking the poison. Then Stilgar tells Chani that Paul is a messiah and only the tears of the desert can bring him back to life. Manipulated by Jessica, Chani mixes her tears with the water of life and applies it to Paul's lips. Suddenly, Paul comes back to life. Seeing this, everyone bows before him, believing him to be the true Messiah. Paul then asks his mother if she is Baron's granddaughter. Jessica confirms, saying that she only found out when she drank the water of life. Paul is asked to take the place of the Harkonnen, canceling their tradition. He declares himself the Messiah by revealing everyone's past and speaks of ascending to heaven. Leaving Chani behind, everyone supports him. He challenges the Emperor by putting his father's ring on and reveals to the princess that the suggestion to destroy the Atreides Harkonnen line was from the Bene Gesserit, as she knew that in the future, the Emperor would be removed from his throne, and then the Atreides' reign would be established. However, as the Emperor's lineage was tied to the throne, the princess had to marry the heir to the throne. This was Mother Mahiam's plan. Meanwhile, due to the challenge, the princess and Mother Mahiam come to Arrakis. There, Paul and his people strategize for the battle. When the Emperor asks Baron who challenged him, he can't reveal anything. The Emperor then accuses the Baron of failing to locate the Paul, who is still alive. He then sabotages Baron's supply support system. Suddenly, a massive sandstorm erupts, but the mountains block its path. Paul redirects the storm into the battlefield by detonating a nuclear bomb on the mountain, clearing the way for the storm. Meanwhile, Baron and his supporters attack the Emperor's army. Then, soldiers on foot attack Paul from a third direction. After that, Paul enters the chamber of the Baron, addressing him as his grandfather and kills him in front of everyone, taking the rest as prisoners. Following Paul's orders, Halleck brings all the prisoners to the residency, and at Paul's command, Halleck and his men eliminate all of Baron's army, killing Rabban too. Then, Freeman burns all the corpses of the enemies just like they burned Atreides. Meanwhile, all the prisoners and the Emperor are brought to the residency. There, Paul tells Chani that as long as he's alive, he'll love only her. After that, he introduces himself to the Emperor and tells Halleck to tell him that if any other great houses attack us, he will destroy all the spice reserves with nuclear weapons. Then, he tells the Emperor that he will marry his daughter and rule alongside her. Hearing this, Chani's heart breaks, and for the challenge, he tells the Emperor to choose his champion. Then, Rautha attacks Paul with a knife in his stomach. Paul retaliates, killing Ra with the same knife. Then, Paul advances towards the Emperor, and the princess tells him to spare her father's life. She agrees to marry him, and the throne will be his. Upon hearing this, Paul extends his hand forward, and the Emperor accepts his defeat by kissing the ring of Paul's father. Upon this, Chani leaves. Halleck informs Paul that all the other great houses have not accepted his sovereignty. So, Paul orders his army to head towards heaven. Then, Paul's unborn sister Jessica asks her mother what's happening, so Jessica tells her that her brother has waged war against the great houses. This marks the beginning of a great and holy war. Chani, leaving everyone behind, goes back alone to the north. With this movie concludes. I hope you have liked this movie recap. Please like, share and subscribe for more real recaps.